Hey guys, I hope you're doing well and welcome to a new video on this channel. Today I'm going to share 3 reasons why you very likely suck in poker. Whether you have been around in poker for a while, or you just started with poker and you're losing a lot of money, or you just feel stuck and you want to move up in stakes. These tips or these mistakes are going to help you a lot and will boost your win rate. And before I'm going to share my 3 tips, I would highly appreciate if you smash that like button. It really helps growing the channel. The way the algorithm works is if you don't engage with the video, even though you enjoy the content, YouTube downvotes the videos. And yeah, so if you like the video, it helps growing the channel, would really appreciate that. And let's get right into it. And before we're going to start with the first mistakes, all these things, they also happen to me. I'm doing these mistakes, and our goal is not to play perfect. It's trying to reduce these mistakes to a minimum. Simply doing less mistakes than your opponents will provide you with a decent win rate and will provide you with making money with poker. And the first tip is to not fall in love with your hand and always think in relative hand strength. This is a prime example where I did the same mistake and I lost money, which very often happens to beginners or players that can't let go of hands. They feel too much attached with certain hands, and the most likely hand this is going to happen with is pocket aces, because pocket aces, we think it's a winning hand, but it's not going to win always. That's simply math. If you get it all in against a lower pair, you only have 80% equity, so you're only going to win 80% of the time. So here with pocket aces, we ISO raise his limp, he calls, and the flop comes king 10 queen. We c-bet, we can also c-bet larger, but it's quite a bit of a dicey board texture. And the turn, then he leads into us. We call once with our straight, and on the river I call again, because I thought here, well, I have aces. Not only have I ace, am I having aces, but I have straights. But guys, this is just stupid. We shouldn't be thinking like this. We should consider the action. We should consider his bet sizings and the board texture, and there aren't any bluffs possible. He has to be bluffing with something like ace 5 with the ace in hearts, but since we raised pre-flop, he has to be afraid of us having a shit ton of full houses on this board. So what is he supposed to be bluffing here? I mean, is he really turning a jack into a bluff? Something like jack 8 suited or jack 7 suited would be quite reasonable, but we represent a lot of flushes, we represent a lot of straights, and we represent a lot of full houses. So now, given the board texture where we have a lot of full houses, straights, and flushes, we can let go of the worst hands in our range, which would be aces, especially against opponents that very likely are not going to bluff here. So an absolute hand strength is straight, amazing, let's put in money in the pot. But where on a board texture where you actually have way more better hands, like boats, flushes, even trips is here a much better bluff catcher, because our opponent is not going to bluff with trips or with a one pair hand. So blocking our opponent's full houses is way more important, way more crucial than here just calling with aces and the pure straight. However, this happens very often. It happens to me. I leveled myself into calling. I thought he could be turning something like jack 7, jack 8 into bluff. It's stupid. It's horrible. And sometimes you're caught up in random thoughts and you justify some very, very stupid hero calls. And this is a mistake I see extremely often happening amongst beginners and players that are stuck, that they're way too often hero call on rivers because they think they actually have a good hand, but they actually don't. So don't do this mistake, and I promise you, you're gonna boost your win rate. And of course, he had the flush and he played it pretty well, especially against me, since I was not able to let go of my aces. The second mistake, or the second reason why you might suck in poker, is flatting too many hands or playing too many hands from early and middle position, especially with low pocket pairs and low suited aces. We have here a situation where I flat call with my 40 big blinds, effectively 30 big blinds with a low jack, but the cutoff also has 40 big blinds, button also roughly 40 big blinds. And I want to show you guys actually how marginal these calls are. According to our ranges from the Tournament Masterclass, which are built based on GTO ranges, you will see that for 40 big blinds, hijack versus middle position, you see 4-4 plus pocket fours is very, very marginal. So that means 50% of the times you want to be calling, 50% of the times you want to be folding. If you call too many hands, you get way too susceptible against squeezes because you can't continue those hands against squeezes. So even though it might be a very marginal, slightly plus EV call, if you start calling way too many hands, you're going to lose too much money by call and then folding against the squeeze, which will hurt your non-showdown winnings. And now if we take it further and if we think about, okay, what about, let's say 100 big blinds, let's take UTG +2 versus UTG. You see that we're not even playing 6s and 5s. If someone open raise from UTG +2, whether it's a min raise or 3x open raise, we're not going to call these hands. Simply it's minus EV. We're not going to see the flop often enough because the likelihood of someone else waking up with a hand behind, there are 7 more players or 6 more players behind, it's just too high. And then also think about with 100 big blinds, when the money goes in, when you hit your set with 4s, it's more likely that someone else has a higher set. So it's a rare instance, but it's going to happen, and when it's happened, it's going to be quite expensive. And then the more occasional or the more frequent instances, you're not going to see a flop at all, and you're just going to burn your 2 big blinds, 2.5 big blinds, 3 big blinds, and they accumulate. So stay away from these mistakes. As you can see, we play very tight ranges, strong hands, high equity hands, to make sure that if we have a setup, we have the setup on our side, and we just simply wait for our opponents making these mistakes and playing too many of those low pocket pairs and lower suited aces, or even chasing suited connectors with 8-7, 6-7 suited in those positions, which is pretty bad. So stay away from it. The most expensive mistake most players do, especially on lower stakes environments, is playing too tight, too nitty, too scared in later stages of the tournament. It's one of the most common questions that I receive is, hey Ben, I actually have a lot of deep runs, final 2, final 3 tables, but I always reach 10 big blinds, or with 10 big blinds, final 2 tables, or I'm always a short stack when I reach the final table. And a very likely reason for that is that you're playing too scared, you're playing too needy and too tight. And especially for beginners that just gotten into poker. And I also, of course, read that a lot in comments. Is, oh my God, how can you push this hand? Oh my God, how you can reshuffle these hands? And we have a very simple example here where we have 10 big blinds in the big blind, or 11 big blinds, and we can face an all-in from the small blind. And I want to share with you, just to give you an example, how loose you're supposed to be in this spot according to theory. Of course, you have to make adjustments. Some players might not be so loose. This is a different story. But let's assume, I'm using here IC Miser, by the way, which is a great tool to analyze these spots. You can also take Hold'em Resource Calculator, doesn't really matter. And if we just take the Nash equilibrium, that basically calculates what is the ideal strategy for both of the players, that provides the highest EVs possible for both players. And you see that small blind is supposed to be going all in here with around 70% of hands, and big blind is supposed to be calling 52% of hands, which includes hands like Jack 6 suited, Jack 9 off. And I'm asking you, if you run deep, would you be calling these hands? Also, let's say if you have 10 big blinds, 11 big blinds, and you push against the 20 big blind stack, let's put ourselves in the small blind, in the shoes of the small blind, and we go all in. So let's assume we are in the small blind. Would you be shoving hands like Queen 5 off? Would you be shoving hands like 10-5 suited? I mean, again, these borderline hands here, these that you can find on the bottom, they're always questionable, and they can easily get minus EV when your opponent calls too wide. But also, especially in deeper stages of the tournament, let's say you have 10 big blinds and you push against the 15 big blind stack, and this guy is not an absolutely maniac. Do you think they risked almost the entire tournament life with Jack 7 and Queen 7 off? Very likely not. If we just take out a few of these combinations that we won't assume that they're going to be calling all in with, let's say they only call 40%, and not considering ICM, then of course you can almost push any 2 cards, because the likelihood of them not calling will provide us with a very high EV. And even if we get called, we can still win the hand, even if we only have 30-35% equity. So here, guys, don't just wait for aces. Don't just wait always for premium hands when you're in later stages of the tournament, especially when you get shorter. You have to be pushing a lot from the small blind. The button, if you have 15-20 big blinds, you have to be reshoving very aggressively from the blinds. You will run into better hands, but if you're too much attached with your tournament life and you want to have this deep run at all costs, and you want to avoid busting with a stupid hand, or you might look stupid, I don't know if you gonna tell your friends or whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is what is profitable, what will provide you with the highest EV, the highest win rates in the long term. And here, going all in, playing these hands shows a much higher profit than not playing these hands. So guys, go a little bit more aggressive when you run deep, and I'm pretty sure that this will help you also winning more often a tournament or having a bigger stack on the final table. Let me know, guys. Of course, there are more things that people do wrong. These are the 3 things that I believe people do wrong, and that's the reason why they suck in poker. And let me know what you guys think is one of the reasons that most players are not able to win in poker. Is it more variance related? Is it more bigger stack related? Do they a lot of mistakes when it comes to ICM? What topic do you think people misplay the most? Drop it down in the comments. I'm really curious to read. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helped you, and then see you guys next time. I wish you Merry Christmas and I wish you a strong start in 2020. Stay healthy, stay sharp, and good luck at the tables.